what you made me do. Look what I made for you.
His name is
Old man Wayne. I live by the funk. I die by the funk. Old man Wayne. Old man.
I'm about to do something terrible.
Old man Wayne. Old man. Old man.
Nope, not doing this. We're not doing this.
Ha ha. Point. Old man. Old man. Old man. Old man.
I feel like I'm losing brain cells listening to this argument.
Oh, anyway, what did y'all think of Loki? I'm moving on. I'm moving on. What y'all think about Loki? How did y'all enjoy the last couple of episodes?
I'm not sure who could not enjoy those episodes. Loki is doing what some of the other more recent Disney Plus series hasn't done, and that is making people not know what the hell happened. I don't think anyone expected episode 4 to end like episode. You're caught up, right, Javi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected episode 4 to end with the timeline basically blowing up like that. And then last episode, I was just enthralled by the journey they took us on and the character development that they took us on, while also still moving the plot forward. And a lot of times with these shows, they do one or the other, right? They spend a whole episode on exposition, developing the character, making you want to know more about, learn more about the character, but like the action or like the main overarching story takes like a step aside while they develop this character. Or they have like a heavy action episode that moves the plot forward, but it's not really on development. In episode 5, they were able to move the plot completely forward while also fully developing this Loki character and showing how he's come around, like the complete change in that character in one episode. I thought it was fantastic.
Javi, what do you think?
I've been enjoying it so far. I think that as good as it is, it's really like highlighting a lot of the difficulties that the Disney MCU properties have been facing, at least some of them. Like, you can't go from a WandaVision or a Loki and then have Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? You have a series in Loki that's just amazing. Like it pulls it pushes the boundaries. Like, it really showcases the fantasticness of the Marvel universe and magic and like really, really high level science fiction, right? And then you go to something that's supposed to be grounded in like a Secret Invasion, well, as grounded as you can be with friggin' alien shapeshifters, right? And you feel like there's something lacking. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I'm getting from this is essentially they need to figure out a way to create a balance that makes sense between these types of properties and their more grounded stuff. When we talk about the Echo trailer, I could go further into that. But other than that, I'm curious. Whenever you have anything to do with time travel, it can get confusing and a little it can get a little confusing, and I think that's happening with this. As good as it is, I think the actors and their performances are making up for that. But just looking at it as a non-biased observer, a lot of the time travel stuff is kind of clunky to me. It does make sense, but it's a little confusing. That's it.
They could also tell better stories, right? Like, I'm not someone who hated Winter Soldier, and I didn't hate Secret Invasion, but it wasn't the greatest. But they could have done better. Now, I give them a little bit of a pass for Winter Soldier because COVID really affected that production. Like, they had to shut down production in the middle of it for COVID. Then they had to change like storylines. And so there's like complete scene, like there's like entire missing scenes and plot points of that show that they took out because of COVID. So like that, I give them a little bit of pass on. Secret Invasion, like most people's not most people, but a lot of people's favorite MCU movie was Winter Soldier, right? Like you hear that a lot throughout the first 10 years of Marvel. Like, oh, Winter Soldier's still my favorite, or it's still top three or whatever. Even as we got more fantastical, more like much larger stories in talking about Infinity Stones, people still loved Winter Soldier because they told that grounded story fantastically, right? And so I think they can do that still. I just think I think what happened was during COVID, and I'll let old man go. I think during COVID, we got we had nothing to do. And so like all these YouTube pages and stuff like that blew up in 2020 because there was nothing to do. We had these Marvel shows come out and everyone got interested in them and everything happened, right? And so we got overwhelmed with content. And then I think that Marvel itself got overwhelmed with content, and then they're connecting all the TV shows with the movies now. It's not like Agents of Shield, and so they're trying to do all this stuff, and I think they just lost their way a little bit. While also, it was an article that came out a couple weeks ago that said they completely shaped up, like they completely changing how they do Marvel TV and how they were making 6-hour movies and breaking it down to 6 episodes as opposed to having a showrunner and having a television structure where you make TV shows that's built for TV audiences and for TV structure, right? And I think some of those 6-hour movie structures kind of let them down. And I think going forward, they're going to get back on track.
Well,
I think it was a good start.
One of the other things that I want to say about like Winter Soldier, I think one of the reasons why people enjoyed it as much as they did was because it was, for all of its fantasy and action, it was pretty simplistic. Like they didn't need to go over the top with magic and things of that nature. It was really just a really gritty movie, you know what I mean? So I think that actually helped people enjoy it as much as they did. And to your point, when they made a 6-episode movie with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's not the platform for something like that. Like, you know what I mean? I think one of the reasons I believe Loki is as good as it is, and I can't remember which one of y'all said this, was the character development. Now, I was gonna have a difference of opinion with the last episode of Loki until you guys brought that out. Being able to see the characters in a different light and seeing how each of them perform in a different way, and then looking back and comparing them to the people that they were in the TVA was dope. It was really dope. And then again, to y'all's point, Loki's character development and looking back at who he was in the very first Thor movie, and then again in the first Avengers, and which they brought up in this season, which I thought was super cool. And then seeing him now, he's a completely different person. And another thing to note is I realized he doesn't really use his magic as much anymore, which I think is great because now we're not getting spoiled with seeing it so often or getting tired of seeing him using a spell. They're relying on Tom Hiddleston being that dude and being maybe one of the 3 best MCU comic book representations that we've seen, which is so far what he's been. So overall, like all they have to do is stick the landing, and I think they've done everything that they needed to do with this Loki project.
And that's the scary part to me, because I feel like their weakest point has been sticking the landing, right? And there's so much going on in this show. So much. Even the names, like Ouroboros, like him representing a snake eating its own tail, right? It's kind of representative of what's happening. And you would think that right, that he would be central, or there'll be like a cliffhanger or something that revolves around his true identity. Like, why would he have that name? But given the history of these movies, I'm just using him as an example, but given the history of MCU on Disney, like those types of questions sometimes don't even get answered. They kind of like, oh, well, you can forget about that plot point, right? So I'm hoping that somehow we get an ending, and it doesn't have to be a close ended. Like, it doesn't have to be the end, because I'm hoping for a season 3, but at least a cliffhanger or some type of callback to all the questions that have developed through the course of like this very complicated storyline.
Well, even in storyline, like old man said about Loki not using his magic. In storyline, they explained that because the TVA had magic dampeners, right? So he's been in the TVA for an undisclosed amount of time because time doesn't move the same there. So who knows how long he's been there in the TVA, not being able to use his magic. So he's had to like do things by talking to people and convincing people. And so he's gotten just like used to that of like, oh, like I don't have to like old Loki when he went back in time would have just cast a spell on Mobius and Ouroboros, OB, just to tell them to like put in their mind everything that he saw, right? He would just cast a spell. Oh, this is everything that happened. Now you remember, let's go do this thing that I have to do. But new Loki like respects people's like mind and like respects people, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this like the right way and convince you. And it's like even in storyline, they explained that. So I thought it was done really well. And we only got one episode left, and I think Old Man had this on the docket, not to steal his thunder, but like there's reports saying that like this final episode is very good, but it puts Marvel in a bind. And I know Old Man had that on the docket to talk about. So I'll tee it up.
Marvel needs to be put in a bind, right? Like I feel like you need constraints sometime to tell a compelling story. I think Marvel has had their way. Marvel and Disney have been so successful that they've really got like I don't want to say lazy because I feel that's disrespectful to the people that work hard on these movies and properties, but I feel like they don't have a lot at stake. They move that way, right? I like 99% of what they produce, but even I would have to admit that there are some real not so bright spots recently when it comes to the MCU. And I'm hoping that they can get and the Loki property would be the best one to do that, to kind of stick them to a narrative that's compelling and interesting, right? Kind of start bringing all these vast stories together, right? Like let's start making some sense. Like there's answers from Thor: Love and Thunder that we still haven't got. There's questions from Thor: Love and Thunder we still haven't got answers for, right? Like a whole bunch of movies that we're still waiting to see what they actually mean.
I was going to say that. Same thing.
But I'm hoping that it wasn't a waste, right? I'm hoping that like we can get something from it, and I'm hoping that Loki, if they, I'm hoping Loki. I'm hearing things about the Marvels that may be introducing some stuff to the franchise that I'm hoping kind of like pushes them in a direction that brings them back to what made us fall in love with Marvel movies, and that's seeing things that we never seen before and being excited about it.
Well, let me also, and Brandon, that was an excellent segue. I don't think you were stealing my thunder, but you bring up a really good point about the article you sent to the group chat, and Javi, you all bringing up the point that this putting Marvel in a bind may be a good thing. We've all seen how adversity can make or break something, and right now, it's almost like Marvel needs to do something not groundbreaking, but eye-catching. You know what I mean? I don't want to say viral because viral moments come and go, but something that's captivating, it can live on for a while. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Red Wedding, for example, that wasn't just a viral moment. That was a moment that got people who didn't watch Game of Thrones to watch Game of Thrones. Just hearing the name of that is something it brings in emotions in people. Like, you know what I mean? They remember the first time they saw that. Marvel hasn't had a moment like that in a very long time. And this was something that we used to get in every movie. There was that one moment where we were like, oh, you remember this? Oh, you remember that? And it was not, you know what I mean?
But the bind that they're being put in though, so y'all are talking about like a positive bind, meaning like, hey, let's get you guys back on track and stay the course, like so that you can't like waver and do something that messes things up. The bind that I'm referring to is with Jonathan Majors. Like the article was talking about whatever happens.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about it in a positive way. I'm saying specifically that like they need to do because they've been missing the point in that. Like they've been missing that. Like, you know what I mean? Let's say they do something that was good. Like let's say this Loki premiere is just everything that we wanted. Now what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so what's next?
The thing with Majors, to piggy on that, is that generally I'm like, I generally believe victims, but I'm also like, I'm waiting to see, particularly for like public figures. But with this one, the problem here is it's so high profile, and on top of it, the reaction around him is not what you typically see in these typical situations. These actors don't usually get dropped by their firms. Like CAA is like the biggest agent company in the world. They don't drop people for charges, right? For just regular old charges. You know how many actors and athletes get charged with some shit? Like that happens every day. It's nothing big to them. They dropped Majors. They dropped him. They were like, I don't want to represent you anymore. Like, to me, and those are people that's designed to represent people who fuck up. Right. Yes. That's what they do, is they represent people who fuck up. So the people who represent people who fuck up says, I don't want to represent you anymore. That tells me that even if it's not this, there's something that's scaring these people off, right, from him, right? There's something that's scaring these people off to the point that it's becoming public knowledge that Marvel is considering doing other things, right? And so what the article was saying was, whatever happens in this finale, it puts them in a tough place on how they make a decision with Majors, right? Now, my initial thought, and I think old man's question, and you can tee the question up, but my initial thought was, oh, just fucking Terrence Howard's this shit. Like, just he's Kang. There's 1,000 variants of him. Just Terrence Howard this shit. Get another black actor and Terrence Howard this shit.
I agree. I agree 100%. Why the fuck not? Like, why the fuck not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not Denzel Washington. He's not Meryl Streep. He's not, like, you know what I mean? He's not one of those people where it's like, we can't do that. He's not Chadwick Boseman. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's excellent, but he's not irreplaceable, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and it's like, again, like you said, there are like, that's the beauty of introducing variants, and especially with Kang, and Javi can kind of break this down a little bit better because of who he is and how he time travels and the infinite number of things he could be. If there's an infinite number of Kangs, one of them could look like one of us. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like, he could do something like Javi was talking about the Iron Lad stuff. Mm-hmm. How Kang was Iron Lad. He could do the same exact thing, and the Kang that we get could just be a younger version of Jonathan Majors. You know what I mean? They could still say he's Kang, but he's just like 18-year-old Kang who just happens to never age because of whatever the fuck. Like, you know what I mean? But like, Javi, you are a Kang. I was going to call you a Kang sympathizer. But you're a fan of
a Kang connoisseur.
A Kang connoisseur. What are your thoughts on what they're doing, and do you think they should move on from him, or do you think recasting might just be the best way to go about it?
Oh, sorry about that.
You're good.
I was talking before, and I think I was on mute too. All right, my bad. I was like, damn, I guess I don't have nothing interesting to say. So yeah, to that question. So I don't think Jonathan Majors is like Denzel Washington, whatever, right? But he is a once in a generation talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
His portrayal of Kang, I don't know if that's going, like, I feel like the audience is still kind of getting introduced to Kang, given that he has multiple variants. But I still think that Jonathan Majors has really put a stamp on that character. So replacing him, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I do think that it's going to be necessary if like the charges come out to be what they are. It'll be responsible to keep them on. But unlike you, Brandon, like I'm hearing a lot of like, and I think like I hate saying I'm hearing these things because nobody knows what's happening. But as much negative press as I'm getting about him, I'm getting some positive press, right? Depends on who you ask, right? They're saying that the accuser lied, blah 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 blah. So I don't know how that's gonna play out. As far as the variant thing, like whatever, like all that's cool. But if you can't have him in the role anymore, just replace him. You need Kang in a higher arcing Marvel storyline that involves time travel and multiple. Like you need a Kang. You don't need a Jonathan Majors, but you need Kang. So I don't care how they do it, even if it's they Terrence Howard it in the next movie is a totally different actor, and they never mention again, and they didn't just do it with him, they did it with the Hulk, right?
Yeah, with the Hulk.
Yeah, so the audience, I think the audience is smart enough. People are gonna know this trial, this case is high profile enough that if he is convicted of anything, I think people are gonna assume that it's gonna be a different character playing that role. So I don't even think there needs to be much thought into it.
So Javi, well, I don't know if you read the article. It sounds like you didn't, which is fine because you're a busy person.
Yeah, I
but
did.
but let me see if this changes your mind. So the article.
Wait, change my mind from what? Like all right, go ahead, because I feel like I don't want to be painted as.
No.
Yeah.
Let me finish. I'm not going to set you up, my boy.
Wait.
It's
the
a
article.
trap.
The article is reporting, right? It's not an opinion article. It's more of a reporting article, right? So they're talking about like what they've talked to people in Marvel, and they quoted people who work for Marvel Studios in the article. And so with this, right? And so what the article is saying is internally what they're discussing is pivoting the main villain of this arc of the MCU from Kang, wrapping up Kang soon, and pivoting from Kang to Doom being the main villain, and introducing Doom sooner, and then having him replacing Kang as the overarching villain of this Secret Wars saga.
I got the article.
That actually makes sense. I didn't read the article, but that's what tends to happen. That tends to happen a lot with Kang stories, right? One, Doom somehow tends to consistently play a part in his story. Both of them actually tend to act as foils, allies, even enemies at points to each other. So that does make sense. I think Doom is a much more compelling villain. I think he should be the higher arcing villain, because Kang typically isn't the major villain. He may come in early on, setting up what's happening with the heroes and the villains, blah 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 blah. But he's not really motivated by evil or like conquering the world. Because if you follow Kang at the end of the day, Kang's always going to be the one that remains, right? So for him, it's all about a challenge. It's all about challenging himself. Exactly. So I think that from a narrative standpoint, both from the movies and from somebody who reads the comic books, I think that makes sense. And I'm surprised. And again, this goes by our original point that constraints may actually create more compelling stories, because if this wasn't the plan originally, I'm happy it is now, because it makes way more sense when you think about who Kang is as a character and how he fits into the general Marvel universe.
I agree.
And then hold on, old man, one more thing, because I want you to comment on both. If they do Terrence Howard, Jonathan Majors, my suggestion is the most talented man in the history of Hollywood to replace him, Jamie Foxx.
So moving on to what's going on with Gen V. Gen V had probably
yo, wow.
Yo.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you though. I mean, as far as acting chops,
Jamie Foxx
may be.
Yeah, I agree. Jamie Foxx.
He's the most talented man in the history of Hollywood. He sings at a high level. He did stand-up comedy.
I'm not
at a high level.
His stand-up is kind of ass. But
Eddie Murphy had a song.
Eddie Murphy did have a song.
He did have a song. It just wasn't good. It was fun.
What? Yo, shut your mouth.
It was fun.
Talk about that wasn't good.
Yo, it was fun, but it wasn't good. That song was doo-doo juice.
Rick James produced that joint, bro. They went in. They was so high in that studio.
Okay. Pharrell and Timbaland have produced some doo-doo juice too.
I guess you don't like to party all the time, all right? You just want
I
to party sometimes. Okay,
no,
fine.
I'm gonna be 41 tomorrow. What the fuck I look like partying all the time?
Damn, nigga, you old.
I partied Saturday and couldn't drink on Sunday. But nah, like I love Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx, all jokes aside, Jamie Foxx is probably I have a hard time debating Jamie Foxx being as talented as he is because he is that talented. Because not only I don't really like Jamie Foxx's stand-up, but Jamie Foxx is funny as hell. Like the Foxhole show he used to do, he was fantastic. Like Jamie Foxx is hilarious. I love Jamie Foxx. He can sing, he can sing, he can perform, he can entertain, he can act. He's an award-winning actor. I'm shocked
He
that
can do serious acting. He can do funny acting. All of it.
He can. And that and people sleep on that vampire movie he did. The vampire movie he did on Netflix, but that shit was dope.
He can do character acting, which you need, which is a key to Jonathan Majors, right? Is that he can do character acting. He can do Kang. He can do Victor Timely. Like in order to play Kang the way the MCU is portrayed him, it could be anything, right? So you have to have somebody who can basically play characters.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone better than him.
In terms of acting, I don't think he's the best actor, but I do really believe that he's the most talented person. And y'all are gonna laugh at me because they're kind of on the same level. I wouldn't be mad at Childish Gambino playing Kang. He may not have the
I can see that.
He may not have
we need him for the Spider-Verse though.
If he may not be as physically like opposing as like Jonathan Majors or Jamie Foxx is, but in terms of acting, I think he would knock that fucking role out the park.
Well, he's already there, right? Isn't he Uncle Aaron?
Yeah, I'm saying
they've said he's Uncle Aaron, but I don't know if they're going anywhere with it or if they kind of just dropped the hint. Oh, before I forget, before we get into Gen V, Insomnia Games announced that Miles Morales is their Spider-Man going forward.
Oh yeah, it makes sense based on the ending.
Yep. And I'm gonna give it another couple of weeks, but we're really gonna break that down, like that game down. Hob, if you get a chance to watch it was super dope, and we'll get into it. Gen V, I have been dying to talk about this. Javi's been dying to talk about this. Gen V is fucking perfection.
Well, it's a great show.
Yes,
it is. I got nothing else. It was perfect.
It's better than The Boys, in my opinion.
It is. Miles.
I said that after week 1 to Old Man.
Yep, and I said I think the last 2 times we've talked about it, I've said those 3 words. Brandon was right. It is also I also wrote in an article that is better. Gen V in 1 season is better than anything The Boys has done in the comic books as well. And I'm a huge fan of the comic books, but Gen V, the creative team behind that, put their fucking foot into the season. Like everything.
I think you're underselling it. I said on Twitter, Gen V is the best live action X-Men we've ever gotten, because that's what it was. It was an X-Men TV show.
I can see that. I can honestly see that. And you know what? I'll take it a step further. The people running that show should be running the X-Men.
If you had a rated M New Mutants TV show, it would look exactly like Gen V.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Journey.
Hey, Journey.
So, talking about Gen V, like the evolution of the characters, like from episode 1 to episode, what was it, 8 episodes? The surprise appearances that we got throughout, the fact that there are actual stakes to everything that happened, and that was the biggest part about it for me. Is like they made it a point to let you know that Gen V was not just a throwaway show. Like it wasn't just like, oh hey, here's a spinoff and da da da. Like nah, they're like, this is connected to the Boys universe and it's going to be that way. And I loved it. And if you're a fan of the comic books and you read the comic books, you know what Butcher's about to go do.
Yes. I think they're gonna change up from the books though. I don't love the books as much as you do. Like Old Man loves The Boys, by the way, for anybody listening. Like he loves The Boys. I liked The Boys, but I had a lot of issues with that book that I think the show and Gen V has corrected. And similar to Invincible, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, where they've made some changes to the story for the better. I think The Boys has done the same. I'm not sure that The Boys ends. I'm not sure The Boys goes on the same path. Boys TV show goes on the same path that the book went. Like I'm not talking about specific things. I mean, like the larger story.
The larger story, I think no. I think that we're gonna get the ending with Butcher that we saw in the comic books. I wouldn't be shocked if if Butcher succeeds just to kind of throw a curveball into things. I think that would be interesting. Um, but it's more than just that because in the comic books, it wasn't the virus; it was a sound, and that same sound that they used in the comics is something they used in Gen V,
Mm-hmm.
which I still think is super dope. But I hope that I'm wrong because, like you said, the big things that they're doing to fit the platform has been right. We're not getting excessive uses of the N word, like you know what I mean, throughout that. They're but again, like it was also an older book written in an older time, like you know what I mean. So I like it. Is also funny that the more I've read recently, and I've talked about my comic book counter journey as I've gone as for the last couple of years, the more I read, the lower the boys gets on my list. Like
Mm-hmm.
it went from being like top 5 to top 7 to now like top 10. Like you know what I mean? The more I read, the more I realize like it's still a really good book. It's still a masterclass in how to evolve characters, but not necessarily change who they are. You know what I mean? Like the story between the Frenchman and the female is fantastic. But what they're doing with the boys TV show, miles above it.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of evolution, same kind of growth, but it's different. Like you know what I mean? And Frenchie is, I think, one of the more underrated characters on that show. To be honest with you, like
So Old Man and Hobby, what did y'all think about Gen V though?
Gen V, perfection. It's probably when it's all said and done, and we do our reviews at the end of the year, like what we think the best is. Unless something happens with the Marvels, Gen V is going to be the best comic book project of the year.
Sorry, guys, I had to get a bottle ready.
No
That's
problem.
okay.
Multitasking out here. Sorry, I missed. What's the question?
So, what do you think
What
about
did you think about
Gen
Gen
V?
V?
I thought it was great. I missed what you guys said. Doing the baby duty, so forgive me if I repeat anything that was said. But I'm talking to you guys. I'm pretty sure we have the same feelings. I think the main character, what's her name?
Marie.
Marie. Yes, she needs to be protected.
You putting her on the
She's on,
on the Kamala Khan list?
she's on the Kamala Khan list, man. Like her performance is like she was just awesome. I think that it's interesting, and this is why I like boys better than that's why I like the show. The boys show better than I like the book. Same reason why I
Same.
like it's probably the same reason why I like Gen V. One, it gives the soups more color. Both literally and figuratively, right? I think that instead of having every soup except for one or two being extremely evil, no redeeming qualities whatsoever, just nasty, sex crazed animals, right? You're seeing some complexity in these characters, right? Especially with the youth. And I think that it's a good comparison the world of the soups with ours. I think they're continuing to do that, kind of create like parallels between our world, what's going on, and what's going on in the world of the soups, with the younger generation kind of doing their own thing, bucking tradition, bucking authority, like literal authority, but putting the boy spin on it. And one, where else can you see an attempted date rape ending with somebody's dick getting exploded? Like,
It was awesome. That was
Yo,
awesome.
I was
like,
happy as I was just like, yo, you got what was coming to you.
yeah. And Marie, I think that she's going to end up being one of the most powerful soups out there. I mean, we don't really know what's behind all this, but she took a direct laser beam from Homelander, and she seems pretty unfazed by it.
Yep.
And also given the other implications of her blood-based powers. Also, we do know that and I'm going into speculation more than review here, but we do know that when there's a genetic connection, like say if a soup has a kid somehow, and that kid gets gets V, they end up getting the same powers or similar powers to their parents or to their siblings. So I'm curious to see why Marie has the same power set as a senator there. So
They probably use her. Yeah, I would assume they probably use her DNA to make the compound V that their parents gave her.
yeah.
Well, there's some interesting things that they're doing here, right? So the show's called Gen V, which is like play on Gen X, which was like the New Mutants, essentially not the New Mutants, but like in the 90s at the Gen X X-Men. But it was a horrible movie, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen that, old man, but
wasn't it a show?
It was it was a made-for-TV movie.
I think I remember that years ago. I was a kid.
X-Men movie in the 90s.
The dark ages of comic book properties.
The only thing I remember from that is they tried. It was like one of the dudes walked in on Monet taking her shirt off, and like her back was Diesel, and that was about all I remember from it. Like that was, they tried so hard. Oh, and then the horrible version of Banshee. I don't know what the fuck. I remember more about that made for TV Fox bullshit than I should. That was a big piece of shit. But anyway, go ahead.
But this thing is like, one, right? You know how you have Gen Z in real life, right? This is the first generation of Supes who knows that their parents gave them V, right? So like that's a big difference than any of the other Supes we've ever seen before, who thought they were created by God or just blessed with this thing, right? But these Supes know their parents did this shit to them, right? So that changes the perspective of the Supes. That is something that we have not seen before. The other thing is that each of these characters were given time to develop in a short series, right? In a short series, I kind of have an understanding of each of these main characters. I know that the showrunner said that Gen V season 1 ties directly into The Boys season 4, which we saw.
I got to interrupt you, Brandon, but I got to get this point across after you say that. And I think this is why this is going to be stronger than what we see from Marvel moving forward, is that they are doing that leapfrog, right? So instead of Gen V being an entirely separate show, almost, I mean, which, different showrunners, different everything, it's a direct continuation from The Boys to Gen V, which I think is going, like, we haven't really seen that before, I don't think, that I could think off the top of my head. But bro,
we saw that in the beginning with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But that lasted like 2 seasons.
Yeah, that lasted.
It was like, that ain't gonna work.
And they said, fuck that shit. But no, not only did the showrunner say that, so I watched the interview with him. Not only did he say that Gen V died, this was before the last episode I watched the interview. He said that the ending of Gen V will tie immediately into the beginning of season 4 of The Boys, which it did, which we all saw. But he also said the end of season 4 of The Boys will lead immediately into season 2 of Gen V. So we have something to look forward to at the end of season 4 affecting Gen V. So tying those two things together, I think, was a brilliant idea. I gotta say, Kate was a better Dark Phoenix than I ever saw in the Fox movies. She was a better Dark Phoenix than I ever saw. Her power went. She stopped taking them pills. Her power went through the roof.
She went crazy.
Yeah, that was the better Dark Phoenix than Sophie Turner ever did. I don't think Sophie Turner's a bad actress. I think she got put into some bullshit in those X-Men movies.
I thought she did as good as she could with the material that was given.
Yeah, I thought Kate was a better.
The one thing can't say about X-Men movies or comic book movies in general recently, past like 10, 15 years, they're not poorly cast.
No, they're not poorly cast. But they did this thing, right? If you pay attention to all the characters that we saw, they're almost all like X-Men type powers. Like we saw a Nightcrawler type character in the last season.
So all the way down to him
episode,
running on like all fours, which I thought was
running on all fours. We saw a Cyclops character shooting laser beams out of their eye. Obviously, we have Kate. We have Magneto type character with Andre. They basically said, we're doing the fucking X-Men better than you all have ever done them, Fox. And to me, as an X-Men mark, this just made my heart warm so much. No, I don't want to see rated R X-Men. I don't want to see that. I don't need to see rated R X-Men. But this was great X-Men to me. This was what those stories are supposed to be.
Mhm.
So
And it
let me
was rated R, but it wasn't gratuitous for no point. Like it wasn't just like,
yes.
you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like squinting right through the blood. It all made sense. Everything, like, it was perfectly done. I cannot for the life of me think of anything that was like poorly executed in that show.
Neither can I.
Oh man, you said you hated Sam. Why'd you hate Sam?
I didn't hate the character. I just hated they did what they were supposed to do. Sam went from a sympathetic character to someone who definitely earned his place on the 7. That's really the only way I can put it. Like he's become exactly what. And what's funny about it is, it's like I couldn't when I was watching this. I felt bad because, and another reason I felt that way is because Emma is my favorite character on the show. So watching Sam do her like that was just it hurt. I was like, fuck. But then when it got to it, he goes, take those emotions away, because you could tell he felt bad about what he did, but he felt that he needed to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so I get it. And again, the showrunners and the creative team behind that knew what they were doing. They executed everything flawlessly, and I don't have anything else to say. Before we move on, Javi, you said your favorite character is Marie. I'm going Emma. Brandon, do you have a favorite character on the show?
Yeah, it was Kate. I thought the story was fantastic. I thought that her development made sense. Like how she turned, it wasn't just like, oh, she just turned bad. I was like, no, this made sense why she would behave this way and why she would come to this conclusion after everything that's happened to her. And I'm curious because at the end of the episode, they showed, I thought the ending of the show was intriguing, but I thought it happened really fast. Like I thought like I thought it just like was really, they wrapped it up a little too fast, but they showed the news report of like Sam and Kate being the new Guardians of Godolphin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that Kate got her arm blew off by Marie. And so we've only ever seen Kate make people do shit with one hand, but I think they're alluding to that she can make people do shit without touching them. That
She's way more
powerful
than she's been.
Than she knows, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see like what happens with her. But I wanted to ask y'all this before we moved on. What do y'all think about the actual ending of like them in that fucking room together? Like, where are they? What's going on with that?
That's a good question, bro. It's either Vought or it's the CIA.
I think they're in the same place wherever they put I almost called him Winter Soldier. Wherever they put Soldier Boy, I think they're in the same place.
I think they're in that place that Marie didn't want to go to.
Oh,
remember in the beginning of the show, she's like, if you're an adult suit and you don't do this, they send you to this place, and they show the video of like this woman like being dragged away in like the first episode. Yeah. I think that's where they're at, but that was in the boys' comic books. They mentioned it at least, but we haven't seen it at all in the TV universe.
I think it's about time I do another boys run through.
I think they're in government. I think they're in government custody.
But they put them all in there together, which is interesting to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think that they're not in prison. They're not being in prison because they wouldn't be all together, right? They're not tied up. It doesn't look all dirty, right? It doesn't have the same color scheme as like the forest or those other places, like the stainless steel everywhere.
Maybe is it Mallory?
Mallory, that's what. Yeah, she works with the CIA.
Mallory.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're onto something, Javi. I think like Grace Mallory, because I remember in episode 7, she mentioned like keep an eye on this, like, you know what I mean. So that would honestly make the most sense. That's a damn good point, Javi.
Also, not gonna lie, I got a weird thing for Ashley. I don't know what it is.
Which one's Ashley?
The one that's in charge of Vought now.
Yeah, bro, I feel you.
That's because she's a freak.
I don't know what
that's
it
why.
is.
Yeah,
something about her.
Because she's
a freak.
Nah, it's Brandon's like me, yo. You love rusting bitch face, right? You love
something about her. I don't know what it is.
She's just mean, bro. Be mean to me.
I don't know what it was about her, but she had that whole suit on. I was like, look at Ashley.
She's fire, bro.
Uh,
And she stopped ripping her hair off out clearly. So
no, that's a wig.
Oh,
That's a fucking wig. Boo. Question for you, Brandon, because you didn't answer this question last week. You were the one who brought it to the table. Gail Simone asked 3 Marvel villains that you'd go on a date with, and you didn't get a chance to answer this question. So before we get into what we're watching and reading, who are your 3?
Oh no, what were y'all 3 first? Did y'all answer it?
Listen to the show and find out.
I gotta listen to the show.
I don't remember my 3 was, but you should know one of them.
I remember Javi's. Javi's was Emma Frost.
Emma Frost, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. I actually have him. I have him up here. Actually, yours were Emma Frost, Yelena Belova from the MCU, and Agatha Harkness from the MCU.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Agatha from the MCU. There's something about her too.
I went with Mystique, Hela, and Wilson Fisk.
Wilson Fisk.
That dude knows all the hot spots in fucking New York. You kidding me?
No,
I was telling Javi, like, he's probably one of those dudes who has like naked like models with like sushi on them. So
I mean, he did pull Typhoid Mary. So
who are your 3?
He's gonna crop dust you and you're gonna die, bro.
Number 1 is Black Cat. She knows all the spots in New York.
That's true.
And she's oozes sexuality. Number 2 is Mystique, because she can get me in anywhere. Like anywhere we want to go, we can get in. So those were my 2. I was having trouble with a 3rd one. I was thinking I was thinking about Scarlet Witch, but I was like, she's kind of crazy. I don't think I want to do that. If I get on her bad side, it'll be really bad for me, and not just killing me. Like, it'd be really bad for me.
But yet you pick Mystique.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't gonna. So you want to hear something funny, Brandon?
No, but Mystique is not as powerful. Scarlet Witch could torture me in so many different ways.
But that's the thing. But that's the thing.
True.
She's not. That's the thing. They're not allowed to harm you.
Oh, that's right. That was on there. They're not allowed to harm me. So it would probably be Scarlet Witch, but a OLI, or outside looking in, would be Madeline Pryor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Love Maddie, and we could go on a date in Limbo.
See, that was that same thing I said with Hela. Like, you can go through the 10 realms, man. That'd be fucking dope. I was
damn it. I want to replace somebody now.
So I was gonna say, hold on, let me get this out, Javi, because otherwise I'll forget. I was gonna say Carla Sofin, Moonstone, but like, just because she can't physically harm you, don't mean she would make me want to fucking kill myself, considering how fucked up she is.
Yo,
like
facts.
that bitch is like, she's probably the most manipulative character in Marvel Comics history. She is just awful.
If we got anybody coming off the bench, for me, it's definitely gonna be Magic, because the date in Limbo does not. Huh?
Not a villain.
Oh, it has to be villains.
Yeah, it's a villain.
Damn it.
I mean, if you want to count racist Magic from New Mutants.
I mean, when she gets upset, she's kind of villainish.
Oh man.
Elektra, would you do that?
Is she a villain?
She not really.
Not really. I mean, she started as a villain.
True. I mean, Abigail Brand.
Oh God, here we go with this shit.
Oh no,
I love her so much.
I don't know how she's not in your starting roster. I don't know how your list was an Emma Frost, Abigail Brand, and then a hybrid of Abigail Brand and Emma Frost.
I don't know how Old Man didn't say Titania. That's right up his speed.
Nah. I didn't think about it for a second, but my top 3, nah, not my top 3. But yeah.
Yo, can the Stepford Cuckoos be? Can we include the Stepford Cuckoos as
They're
one?
They're not villains.
Damn. Their mama is.
The Stepford Cuckoos are definitely villains.
They're not villains.
They are villains.
In what world? I know one of them was a villain.
They're every bit of villain as Emma was.
Exactly.
No, they were not.
Yes, they were.
One of them was fucked up, but as a whole, no. 1 out of 5 isn't a villain. Was it Esma? Was she the really evil one? Was it Sophie? I can't remember. One of them was super evil. All right. Brandon, what are you reading? What are you watching?
I'm reading Ultimate Universe, and I'm in. I'm very in on it. It made me care about this new universe, which I did not think I would care. And by the way, I don't know if you read it, old man, but at the end of the book, after the story, like when they're showing like what's upcoming for that universe,
Yeah, I
it
did.
showed like Ultimate X-Men, and
Mm-hmm.
the art looked weird. Did you see that?
It looks weird, but I'm wondering if it'll work with what they're going for. You know what I mean? It did look
I don't
weird.
know. It looked weird. I was like, what is this? This looks weird. But no, this story is, I mean, I love almost anything Jonathan Hickman does. You got me. He built this universe up. I'm very interested in how these characters are. I was listening to a different podcast and I thought this was interesting because they like Hickman as well, but they were talking about Hickman's Spider-Man book coming up. And the question came up on that podcast was, would you have liked it if the new Ultimate Spider-Man had the backstory of Spider-Man from the video game? Like if they took that story and then turned it into like the new Ultimate Spider-Man. Because I don't know if Javi or if your old man saw it, but I don't usually look at solicits, but I did see the solicits for the new Ultimate Spider-Man. They got Peter out here with a whole ass beard, a whole ass scruffy Charles on the Krakoa looking beard.
That's not even that
Married
part of it. Yeah, married and
with
with
two kids. That's the story they're telling with this Ultimate Spider-Man, which I'm very interested in. But Javi, if you watch the YouTube of the Spider-Man thing, if you see this story they told in this game, it's fucking incredible. Like I would love to see a comic book universe version of that where you can actually get into those stories because man, they said
Well,
a
they
lot.
do have a comic book series that's based on the video game.
They do.
Um,
Oh,
I
they
have,
do?
yeah, they do. I doubt it's caught up to where it is now, but I've heard good things. Bro, I just can't get it. I can't play games like that anymore. So I'm gonna have to YouTube it or something like
Yeah, just YouTube it. If
YouTube
you can't
stuff.
get
Yeah,
it,
it's already out there.
Yeah.
It's already on YouTube. So yeah, just YouTube it. But the story is fantastic. It might be the best Spider-Man story we've ever seen, honestly.
Wow, that's
I'm still going J. Michael
wow.
Straczynski.
Wow.
Oh, it's better than that. Come
All
on,
right.
man.
This might be the first Spider-Man game I play on the PC when it's released.
Javi, what are you reading? What are you watching?
I'm reading Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange has been flexing lately. He's currently fighting himself, the version of himself. I don't know if you remember, he went to war for the Vishanti for like over 1,000 years, and you never really knew what happened. Because they wiped his memory of that whole time and brought him back to his current timeline. But he's currently fighting the version of himself that has those 1,000+ years of battle experience and is an absolute monster. So yeah, Doctor Strange is flexing, and it's always good to see Doctor Strange flex because he is, one of those characters that if he decides to, he could probably beat anybody he wants. So it's fun to see that. And what am I watching? So, just finished Gen V. We talked about that. And I'm still watching Dragon Ball Z Kai. Both me and the wife are watching it. I'm introducing her to Dragon Ball. If you're married to a nerd, you tend to have these little moments where your nerd spouse introduces you to something that they loved as a kid. And if you like Dragon Ball, if you're like, in your late 30s, early 40s, and you watch Dragon Ball like I did back in the day, Dragon Ball Kai is essentially that, but it takes out all the filler. It's a lot more concise and it's a good way to introduce people to that. So yeah.
I didn't get to say what I was watching, by the way, old man.
Oh, my bad, dog.
I
What you
didn't get to
watching?
say it. I'm only watching Loki and Gen V, but we already talked about that. So I wanted to talk to you about. There's a show on Apple TV Plus called Silo that I think anybody should watch, whether you're a nerd or not. If you're a nerd, you'll love it. If you're a sci-fi nerd, you'll love it. And if you just like a great story with some mystery, you'll love it. But it's essentially about, and it's only season one so far, so it doesn't take you a lot to catch up. But it's essentially like this place in the future where something happened on Earth that requires everyone to live in this underground silo. And so the silo is like 150 stories down, and each level, and they separate people on different levels. So like the people on the lowest level like are the lower class people, and then you have the middle class people, and then the people at the top are the high, like, and it's like this real interesting story about like why did they end up there? Why can't anybody go outside? What happens when you go outside? And like what is this whole thing around it? And it's fucking fantastic. Apparently it's based on a book that I didn't read, but I watched that entire first season, and by like episode 2, I was into it. By episode 5, I was literally setting alarms on my phone to watch it as soon as Apple released it, so that I could see it immediately. It's fucking fantastic. So go watch Silo.
Well, it's got. I'm looking at the cast, and it's got Rashida Jones, so I'm all in. And I love the dude, David Oyelowo. I'm pretty sure I butchered his name, but they've got some people in this cast that I actually really enjoy. So I'll check it out. And as we talked about previously, Apple TV may have the best streaming service out right now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And they started off slow too, and that's the thing I like about it. Like it was like a little couple things here, a couple things there. Then Ted Lasso dropped, and after that, it was like nothing but momentum.
I will say this: Invasion on Apple TV, in my opinion, is trash. But
I haven't watched it. Everybody tells me it's trash, but I'm like, love sci-fi. It's
nah,
trash,
bro.
Tommy?
It's not, bro. It's not
Okay.
good. It's not
You
good at
watched
all.
Foundation though, right, Javi?
I love Foundation.
Yeah. Did you watch the last season of Foundation?
I was trying to get on y'all podcast, but you was like, nah.
Oh,
fuck
that's
you, you
right.
suck.
Oh no, we didn't do Foundation. We never did it.
Oh, what did y'all do?
We did Silo.
Oh, okay.
Isn't Foundation fucking great?
Foundation.
This last season was unbelievable.
All right, I'm switching minds. F that. F Dragon Ball Kai, yo. Foundation. Yo, it's done. The season completed a couple of months ago, but it's that and what's the one with the Rocinante?
Expanse.
That and Expanse. Those two
Yes.
shows may be the best combined to be the best sci-fi ever. Right? In two different ways. Foundation, it's based on Isaac Asimov's famous like series of books, right? And honestly, it's probably the driest, most dense sci-fi you'll ever read. I do not suggest it, right? But what they did by turning that into a show that's compelling, exciting, each season so far has the time between each season is over a century or so, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting new characters, new plots, and there's just these things that connect each moment in time, characters that connect each moment in time, and it's so fucking good, bro. I cannot give it a higher recommendation.
And season 1 was good, but it had some issues. Like it had some pacing issues to me. But season 2 was like, I always say my favorite season of television, in like sci-fi television, or like, you know, that type of genre of all time, was season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they told 3 different stories with Ghost Rider, LMDs, and
such a good show.
All, and wrapped it all up into one. Like that's like my favorite season. But this season 2 of Foundation was something to watch. Like it was like that. I'm like, it was something to watch. Like, I don't know. Apple
Character development. Every
right.
character, like you can empathize. You can find. I don't care what kind of personality type you have. I don't care what kind of characters you like. You're gonna find a character or a story plot that you can empathize with and thoroughly enjoy in that show.
And it's very black and brown.
Yep. Yeah, no
Very
black.
black
Yeah,
and brown.
yeah, yeah. Nuance
Very
like
black
crazy.
and brown.
Yeah,
I don't mean to be an ass, but I gotta wrap it up because I gotta work tonight.
this happens when we
Um,
talk. This is what happens when we talk foundation.
I keep telling y'all, do your own fucking show. Y'all don't want to listen to me. Y'all don't need me. I'm reading a couple of things. I'm reading.
Always
First,
need you, old man.
no, you don't. I'm first off, I'm gonna get to something new. Captain Marvel by Alyssa Wong. I'm a little Alyssa Wong fan ever since they did Deadpool. I'm gonna go back and start reading their Dr. Afra from issue 1. But I'm a
Excellent.
yeah, I'm a decent Captain Marvel fan. Like I enjoy Captain Marvel more and more. The more I read her as time goes on, I'm enjoying her. But you add Alyssa Wong to this, and I'm all in. But I'm also reading and something to throwback. I'm reading Sex Criminals. It's the premise of this is great. These two people, whenever they have sex, whenever they come, they freeze time and they decide to rob a bank to save a library, and then shenanigans ensue. And one of my favorite parts about this is there's a woman on the show called Kegel Face
Okay.
because she literally can freeze time by doing Kegels, and it is fucking hilarious. I'm watching Seinfeld. I'm going through it from season 1 all the way up. I'm on season 4 now, I think. Jerry and George are writing the sitcom. So that's where I'm at with that now.
It's excellent, right? Seinfeld's great, right?
So I liked it. I always liked it, but watching it now with older eyes, I have a more appreciation for it. And all of them are the worst people in the fucking world. They are terrible. All of them are terrible. Kramer,
You're coming up on the prime too. Season 4, 5, and 6 are the best seasons of Seinfeld.
Yo, like
bar none.
I cannot believe how terrible these people are.
The crazy part about it,
would like her.
I remember as a kid. I remember as a kid, people complaining at some point that there weren't enough black people on Seinfeld, and watching it as an adult, I'm like, "Yo, these people would not have one black friend."
No, it was funny.
And they do have some black friends. They have some black acquaintances.
Yeah, but they would have had. They ain't the type of group.
Yeah, black people ain't hanging out with them.
You haven't met Jackie Childs yet, have you, old man?
I don't think so.
No,
One of
you
my
haven't met
favorite
Jackie
moments,
Childs.
and I remember seeing this moment as a kid. Elaine was dating someone she thought was black, and the dude was dating Elaine because he thought she was like Mediterranean, and they were both disappointed. And they were like, "You want to go to the Gap?" And I fucking lost it. But I tried watching Curb. I got through. I couldn't even finish episode 1. I was like, "Yo, this is boring."
No, you got an episode. I mean, it's a pilot, so pilots are generally like that. But it's very much like Seinfeld, except they don't have any rules of network television, so they can do more, like HBO type things in the stories. Yeah. So and he gets a cat, and then when after the first season is a little bit tough. Season 2 through now is fantastic, but once you get to season 6 or 5. When they bring in JB Smoove, it takes that's when the show really blew up with everyone. Like white people, I'm gonna hate to say, I loved the show from the beginning because I love Seinfeld. But white people were really the main ones watching the show in the beginning. It's still great, but it had that Seinfeld thing where it wasn't that many black people. Yeah. And then they brought in JB Smoove and Vivica Fox and the aunt from Jamie Foxx onto the show. And Wanda Sykes, Wanda Sykes is on there early, but and then you started incorporating all these different types of people in the show, and that's when the show really took off from there.
Maybe I'll give that a chance next, and maybe I'll just start with season 2 because I've seen clips of like that show and I love it. Like what was it? Larry David. There was one thing. There was somebody walking by, and he said, "You should smile," and he turned around and goes, "Don't tell me what to do."
I mean, he does crazy stuff. He dated a woman who was in a wheelchair so that he could get handicap spots everywhere he went.
God,
so he didn't have to worry about parking in LA. He could just park in a handicap spot. And every time he would show up to a restaurant with her, they would give him the best seat in the restaurant because he was with a woman in a wheelchair. It's so crazy.
And I know Maura from Schitt's Creek's in it at one point too, and I love her. I didn't realize she did the voice for what's her name in A Nightmare Before Christmas. But we're getting off topic. This has been the Old Man Wade Show. I want to thank Brandon Norton and Super Bowl Harvey for doing this. Brandon, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm not on there that much anymore though. At that cool black nerd BLK. And I'm doing a podcast with my homegirl Chanel called We Was Whatever It Is out of now. I don't know what we're watching now because we haven't done it in a couple weeks. I think we're about to watch Invincible, so it's probably going to be called We Was Invincible.
I like the name, but that shit's dope. I like just the name. We Was Invincible. It's just fucking dope in general. Super Bowl. Where can they find you?
Well, first, I'm surprised y'all wokies are still on Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter, but you know, whatever.
Wokies.
You can find me, I don't know, in my crib holding my baby. I'm about to change her diaper. So yeah, that's where you can find me now. But you know, Be Rebel Media on Instagram. All over the place. I'm boring.
Find me at Old Man Wade Com on social media. OldManWadecom. Find me there. The word of the day is go fuck yourself, Avi. Be excellent to each other. Peace.
Bald. Black.
Bald.
Black. 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 Nerd. Black. Black. Black.
Damn it, Wade.